What do Canadians actually think about coronavirus facts and statistics? What do they actually know about what's going on right now? And I asked that question genuinely because I was reading this recent poll in the United States by Gallup poll. They're one of the largest pollsters in the US and the world. And they spoke to 35,000 Americans, and they asked them a number of questions to gauge the American perspectives on what they think is happening versus what is actually happening. And there was one question about hospitalization rates. And they asked, if you get coronavirus, what are your odds of winding up in the hospital? Now, the answer to that question is 1 to 5%. That's the hospital rate, depending on where you are in terms of first wave, second wave, different demographics and parts of the country and so forth. That's the top line rate. Now, Gallup found that about 40% of Democrats, 30% of Republicans, so I guess a third of people, over a third of all respondents, they said 50% or more, that was your chance. You had basically a 1 in 2 chance of being hospitalized if you got coronavirus. That is just massively wrong from what the actual facts and statistics show. What would the Canadian response be? I think it would be pretty similar or maybe even worse, because we have a real problem here in Canada when it comes to breaking down the actual facts, the context, and the nuance in a way that I think is really damaging to people. And it's certainly affecting levels of support we have for lockdowns and sort of the psychological toll this is taking on people. I was reminded of a story that was up on the CBC website not too long ago, where it quoted 2 older Canadians who were in their 70s, and they were talking about various different concerns about the pandemic. And they said, look, the truth is, if we get this virus, odds are we're going to wind up taken up in a hospital bed and we're going to be dead. And I thought, I don't know if these folks have any underlying conditions or what have you. They seem to be pretty healthy. They didn't mention anything, but that's not what the facts show at all. Why did these folks think that? And not only why did these folks think that, but why did CBC run that quote? I mean, I can tell you there are many times where you're speaking to a source for a story and they're saying many interesting things, but maybe 1 or 2 lines they'll say, you go, oh, I don't know about that. That's not, really an accurate line. So you don't put it in the story. Why did this journalist think it was appropriate to quote these older Canadians who were just wrong? And it's just right there in that CBC story, and there's no attempt to fact check that statement they made that, well, will certainly encourage and enable other readers to read that and think that statement is true. So it would be really interesting to get some polling done. We got a lot of polling in Canada about political support, who supports Liberals, Conservatives, and so forth. We got a lot of polling about do you support lockdowns and so forth. And actually a lot of Canadians really do support lockdowns. I think maybe one reason they do support lockdowns, though, is because they don't actually understand the facts and statistics. And it would be really interesting if a Canadian pollster went out into the field and started asking some basic questions about perception versus reality. It would be really curious to see the results of that poll.